Dude, metal is heavy, right? This stuff that we do is heavy and it's hard to maneuver, and especially when you don't have a lot of room, right? You have limited access to space, equipment, extra hands, right? It's hard to do this. So you have to come up with ways to be able to maneuver things and do projects in a way that you could do them by yourself. So here's a few things for you to think about when designing and building and installing your projects. First thing I can tell you is that a lot of times you might just have to say no to something. And I know it hurts, right? You don't want to say no to projects, especially in the beginning when you're trying to build a business or build a reputation and even a skill set. Is you don't want to say no to things. You want to say yes to everything. But that could end up hurting you more than helping you if you can't do it well. If you give the customer something that they're not really happy with, or you end up doing something that you're not happy with, well, you know what? That doesn't help anyone. Learn to not be afraid to say no to some projects if you just think this is just well outside of my capabilities. In the design process, think about ways that you can break up the size of the project, right? So let's just use like a 20-foot railing, for instance. Okay, well, that's a great example. Well, if you have a 20-foot long down rail, how are you going to carry that by yourself? How are you going to maneuver it? How are you going to get it there? How are you going to install it? It's going to be nearly impossible. Now, of course, you can hire someone to help you, that's great, but what if you can't do that? When you're designing it and building it, build it in sections, build it in 5-foot sections or even a 10-foot sections. And when you're actually out there on the site, you might have to do some welding on site or bolting together on site if that is an option. The other thing to think about is the materials that you use. This I cannot stress enough. Whenever possible, even when I have a lot of help on a project, I always use the lightest material I possibly can. If I'm building railings and I have 1/2-inch square pickets, I don't use 1/2-inch square solid bar. Absolutely not. I use 1/2-inch square tubing, right? Huge difference. That's what I suggest, is pay attention to the material that you're using, use lighter material whenever possible, and break things up. Be creative in how you install things. It's not ideal. It might make your installation a little bit more difficult, but it's a whole lot better than you breaking your back or just failing completely at being able to install something.